Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin and Rugby podcast. Joining me this week is someone who was last with us for our first wrap pod of the season against the Stormers, and thus is happy enough to not only have a win to harp on, but also some actual Leinster scores as well. Welcome back to you for your 15th cap, Mr. David Cordial.
Happy to be here, Jeff. Celebrating a win.
That's an interesting jersey you have on. Where did that come from?
Thank you. This is as I called it, I think the other day, the wages of sin. I let the vibes run a little bit too wild last season, and I wound up at the bottom of our illustrious predictor table. And so for my penance, I'm wearing a combo Munster and London Irish jersey. As I said to you off air, I've completed it to the trio of Leinster villains this season, including the British and Irish Lions, who we are officially blaming for how bad our season has started.
Exactly.
But yeah,
We
no,
call
it's
it the jersey of shame. It's to be worn by whoever finishes last in our little Super Brew league for the URC.
yeah.
I had the dubious honor of wearing it the first season. Then it was Kigo. Had it for 2 years, but David finally wrestled it off him. Ironically, I actually gave it to him after the match last night. It was ironic that it was against Zebra that Leinster were playing when he collected the jersey because it was sort of an over optimism on Zebra's fortunes last season, which may have contributed to your
It it
to your
has.
demise.
It
Yeah.
did. It did. And in complete shameless about face, I started playing for real last night, so I didn't bet on Zebra last night.
And
I
what
did
happened?
predict.
What's happened? You've shot up the table.
I
You're in the
yeah, I'm
top.
sitting I'm sitting second from the top. It's
Yeah,
very
you're
I
in
don't
the
know,
dizzy heights.
I'm
It just
getting
shows.
vertigo up here, man. It's a pity.
There
I will
you
say for this jersey, it's unfortunate about the crests because in the style of the time, it's a really nice jersey, like proper
I yes.
old
No,
school old collar it's proper like I don't know if this
yeah.
is cotton, but it's like
If it
proper
wasn't for
old
the
school.
crest and the double
Oh,
color of it all,
yeah, it's
it
lovely.
is actually the perfect jersey. Might persuade some people to actually to want to get it. But anyway, listen, let's
Yeah.
let's let's move on. This is we'll turn our attention now to our feature match of the week. Here's a generic 80-word summary of the match at the Aviva. Leinster overwhelmed Zebra Parma 50-26 at the Aviva Stadium, scoring 8 tries in a thrilling contest. 6 players made their debut, including Jerry Kerr and Hugo McLaughlin, with Kerr and Kieran Mangan both contributing to tries. Alex Soroka and Joshua Kenny each scored twice, while Harry Byrne added multiple conversions. Despite Zebra's spirited response and 4 tries, Leinster's dominance prevailed. The match featured 2 upgraded yellow cards and showcased Leinster's depth, with several Ireland under-20s impressing on debut. Now, obviously, we'll be going into a bit more detail than that. But to kick things off, David is going to have a look more closely at those Leinster debutants. There were others as well making just their second appearance. How did they all get on?
They got on famously, really, it has to be said. I mean, as you mentioned, we had I think it was 6 technical debutants. So in the starting team we had Hugo McLaughlin and Jerry Cahir. On the bench, then we had Bobby Sheehan, Alex Usanov, Casper Gabriel, and Kieran Mangan. Mangan added to the team sheet, I think, on the day. Max Deegan pulled out in the warm-up, I think, to be so Alex Soroka switched from the bench to the starting team, and then Mangan came onto the bench. So that's always got to be a nice one to be the 24th man and then suddenly propelled into the team. We also had I think it was Sparrow on the bench playing just his second cap. So this was a very green Leinster squad, and they went really well. I was particularly impressed by the two starters. Hugo McLaughlin, fullback is not a passenger position. It's a quite an important position, particularly when you have a rush defense like Leinster. I thought he had a very tidy performance. I thought he was he covered the backfield well. He distributed well. He was the last pass for at least I think the JJ. Why am I forgetting JJ's
Kenny.
second name? JJ Kenny first try, lovely chase through on Harry Burns grubber kick. He covered the backfield really well. He had a really strong run. I think it was before it was Leinster's penultimate or final try. It just in a really busy position. I thought he played really well. And I'm looking at the team sheet. I think because there was so much focus on Casper Gabriel, um, coming off the bench, I didn't really think about McLaughlin or him that much. And if I hadn't been told that this was a guy playing his debut senior cap, I never would have guessed. He was really really tidy at fullback. So I think he did himself absolutely no harm with that performance. I thought it was a lovely performance. Jerry Cahill, slightly different character. in that he's an AIL player. He's come up from Lansdowne FC. I think he was playing for Trinity as well, winning Player of the Year awards in both places. And then he gets called up by Leinster for a short-term senior contract because of, I think, in part because of the amount of players we had on the lines, and now with the Ireland squad, we're a little bit light in the front row. I think it's a great thing. You know, in times gone by, we would have signed medical jokers, but here we're like, the AIL is such a strong league. Anybody who goes to see it week in, week out will know the quality of the players there. And to get a guy like this who's been grinding it out week on week, you know, as a in the amateur leagues and has shown enough. Um, I just think it's such a great reward to show people in the IL, hey, if you do well, you could legitimately play for Leinster, and not just play for Leinster. You could come on, play for 65 minutes, and score a try. You know, it's such a great debut for so many re like score a try on debut is great anyway, but to come from where he's come from and to play that well, he was you know scrummaged well. His work rate was immense. His carrying was strong. He was leading kick chases. As I said, he scored a try, with bloodied face afterwards. Like he had a really good performance. So I thought the two starters, phenomenal performance in a very green team. I thought those two did themselves absolutely no harm. Then on the bench we had Bobby Sheehan come on. I think he's the brother of Dan. My God, like you saw his face, and I did a double take. And went, oh yeah, no, they actually you could see the similarity straight away. And on the rewatch, I forgot. I think it was once again it was one of our last tries. He gets there's some Leinster play in the middle of the field. I think it's Scott Penny goes to ground, pops it up for um McGrath to take. McGrath gives it to Sheehan, and suddenly he's through a hole in the gap, but he's running 30 meters up the pitch, gives an offload again before he hits the deck to keep the ball moving, and you could see straight away, or like it's not off the ground. He's licking it. This is, you know, in a relatively short cameo. I thought like he's already had quite an impactful moment. Alex Usanov, didn't have a super long cameo. It's weird to see him come on for Jerry Cahill, so debutant replacing debutant, which is kind of cool. But he's definitely a player I've seen a lot of at the lower level. So you know, it seems like we seem to be producing front rows at a rate of knots, which is great for a position that has such an attrition rate. That was fantastic. Kieran Mangan, like I said, not supposed to be on the team sheet at all. In you know, Alex Soroka has to move into start, so Mangan comes off the bench, and I had a shock when I saw him come on screen because he is so young. Like he looks so. I think he's about 20, but he has such a youthful face, and to see him fired in there, he didn't seem overawed by the situation. He was very good. There was a point in the second. Along the left wing where there's an up and under and a kick chase through, and he's the one who competes and gets it in the air, which is like, you know, for a forward, great to see that kind of work rate and that kind of fight, that kind of hunger off the bench. He was fantastic. And then, you know, Casper Gabriel. How much has been said about this kid coming up to now? You know, the Austrian ace scoring that 40-meter try in the A game last week. He didn't have a very long cameo. Harry Byrne was having such a stormer of a game. It was hard to take him off. So I think Cass only got 5 minutes in the end. But even in that time, he had some nice passing. He had an up and under kick that I thought was quite nice for some field position. He almost had the perfect finish to his debut when he lined up to take his one conversion attempt, and the ball fell off the tee. The 60-second goes against you, and you had to pick it up, and he went for the dropper. Unfortunately, it didn't go over. It would have been so perfect if it had. But no, I just thought like for a team that green, and like the rest of the team aren't exactly old hands. You know, JJ Kenny on his second cap on the right wing, scoring two tries in the first half. You have Andre Osborne, he's still young enough on the left wing, playing there too. You know, Deeney and Mangan are older hats now, but they're still young enough guys. Like this was a youthful team. I think the only two player was it McGrath and Byrne are the only. Um, I can't remember what they were the only two who played. No, Deegan must have played. Oh, Deegan dropped out of the team. So it's, you know, this was a very green team, but to see those six young guys have such not only not make any big errors or big mistakes, but have really positive performances, particularly when Leinster have been struggling in the last few weeks, and some of the older hands have not been making the best account of themselves. It was really heartening to see that we have some like proper quality coming through from the younger tiers. And you know, I mean, it might be a nod to the fact that maybe we should be getting some of these guys more involved in upcoming matches because they seem to have it. They seem to have the hunger at the very least.
Yeah, because I mean, for a game like this, I mean, it was always going to be. We were saying in our preview show that, I mean, after the disappointment of last week, there was literally nothing Leinster could do pretty much in this game. Um, to kind of just completely wash away the effects and the way we all been feeling, the kind of week we've all been through. And it's a similar vibe to what happened back in May when we had that disappointing result against Northampton. And a week later, who did we play? Zebra at the Viva Stadium. And I actually I put that game so much out of my mind, that game back in May, that I'd forgotten we scored 76 points that day. That's just 76 points. That's a standout figure in any context. But I just completely forgotten about it because at the time we were thinking, like, how the hell were you going to get this season back? And we weren't even thinking about that result. So this game kind of was a very similar thing. But so to find a sort of a headline out of getting a bonus point win over Zebra, I think this was the one. I think that we were able to give a lot of debuts, but we weren't just giving them for no reason. It was well flagged in advance. I think Leo said it a couple of weeks ago that it's going to be there's going to be younger players for this particular game, so we knew it. But they don't just give out those caps willy nilly for no reason. They'll have had to. They've watched them. They've seen them. They're like, all these guys were involved in that game against Cardiff, back in Tala. And so we've kind of have an idea what they can do. But literally from the first minute, the first Leinster attack. We'll talk about Harry Byrne later, but he puts forward a little grubber, and it's not straightforward for Hugo McLaughlin on his debut and JJ Kenny second game, whatever, to be able to go through, pick it up, offload it straight away, and finish off that try. Very first minute of the game. It was an incredible start.